Okay folks, well welcome back to Kerbal Space Program. Yes, first time in Kerbal Space Program for such a long time for videos and for me just generally. I haven't played the game for ages and there's been some updates. There's now communication things and I don't know how any of that works. And a few other things have changed, so I'm kind of flying blind. I was tempted to come in and do a little bit of testing beforehand, but I kind of haven't because I thought it'd be more fun if I didn't. So you're going to get this warts and all. If things go wrong, you're going to see them. If things explode, you're going to see it. If things crash, you're going to see it. If I screw up, you're going to see it. So this is going to be entertaining, I think. So we're going to do a career mode playthrough. So we're going to be joining Jebediah on the moon hopefully fairly soon, but right now... well, hopefully we won't land like that, but right now we're going to set ourselves a new game. We're going to call it All the Gear But No Idea, which I think is quite appropriate, given that I'm going in completely blind in this. We're in career mode, so obviously we're going to have contracts and things like that, and reputation and funds, and we're flying for the UK Space Agency. So let's get ourselves in there. I'm leaving difficulty on normal. Okay, so let's get ourselves a career mode game started. And it all starts off very, very simply. We don't have access to very much at the start, and the idea is we build it up as we go, and we unlock things, and we gain access to new parts, and things like that as we go along. So this is the Space Center. There's our little introduction, which I'll let you pause that if you want to read it. So, Space Center, we've got all the different things that we use here for tracking stuff. We've got the administration, which is where we can manage various aspects of our space program, make strategic decisions. Research and development's where we unlock things. This is one of the key elements of the game, as you can see. Most of it's currently greyed out. It's locked. I don't have access to it. The only thing I have access to is this very, very first part of the tech tree, which is what this is. And that's all I can use at the moment. Not very much available to me. Okay, so as we go through this, we'll gain science. And science is what we use to unlock these different parts of the tree, which lets us then go further and further afield. You'll see it as we go along if you've never played the game before. Okay, so at the minute we've got a very basic set of parts and we can't really do a great deal. So, that's research and development. Tracking station lets us see what we've got up in the air. Obviously at the moment we haven't got anything. Vehicle assembly building is where we build rockets. Launch pads where we launch them. Space plane hangars where we build space planes, and the runways where we launch them from. Now, again, I don't really do space planes, so we're probably not going to be using that very much. And mission control is critical. This is where our contracts are dealt with, and contracts allow us to get reputation and credits, as well as little bits of science. You get a bonus every time you complete the contract, as well as any other science and things that you did. So, we've got 4 that we can choose from at the moment. At our current level, because we need to upgrade the various bits of the Space Center, at our current level we can only have 2 active contracts. So what we want to do is pick 2 contracts that ideally we can do with 1 flight, because that means that we're only going to use 1 set of materials and spend 1 amount of money, because everything costs money, on 1 launch, but we're actually going to complete 2 contracts, which will hopefully allow us to build our reputation, build our credits, build our science, with minimal spend. Of course, we've only done 1 launch. So let's have a quick look at what contracts we've got. Oh, this is a nice easy one. Give us a quick crew report before launching. It's fine if any of the lights on the control panel are flashing, just give it a kick. Well, that sounds about right. That's the standard approach for fixing space-related technical issues. If in doubt, give it a clout. Okay, so we'll accept that one. So we've accepted that one. So all we need to do for that is just gather some science before we take off. This one, launch our first vessel. Again, very simple. Launch a vessel. We're going to complete the contract. We're going to get some credits. We're going to get a little bit of science. We're going to get a little bit of reputation. So we might as well do that one. The other 2 that we currently have are escape the atmosphere and orbit Kerbin. Now, we can't do that at the moment. We don't have the parts to be able to do these. We could accept them if I had the ability to. Obviously, I can't. But we could accept them and just keep them in the archive. They do expire after a certain amount of time, and you have to achieve certain contracts within a certain amount of time. So hopefully we can do those next. Okay, so we've got ourselves 2 active contracts. Get ourselves started. So let's leave this, go to vehicle assembly, and build our first rocket. So let's get our career mode playthrough, all the gear but no idea, off the ground. Very simple rocket, it's about the only thing we can build. So let's put ourselves a capsule. We have no fuel tanks because we have no liquid engines, so all I have is this little engine. Now, in theory I could have a few of those, you know. But I'm not going to. There is a reason I'm not going to. Because I think further down the line you'll get contracts for reaching certain altitudes. And if we do it all in one go when we don't have the contracts, we're going to miss out on some science and some money. So I'm not going to do that right now. We're going to need a parachute. Because you don't get anything if you don't get it all back in one piece. So you need to have a parachute. That's the key thing. Unless you transmit the science, which we can't do at the minute because we don't have an antenna, you have to recover everything intact or you lose the science. So it's pretty important that we get everything back in one piece. So we need to have a parachute. And we might as well see if we can add some extra science. Now these little things here are to do with Kerbal Engineering Redo. I actually do have a few mods installed. Kerbal Engineering Redo, Kerbal Attachment System, Kerbal Inventory System, and I'm also going to pop Kerbal Alarm Clock on there as well, just to help me out a bit later. So they're to do with that. I'm not going to bother fitting any of them for this flight, because it's so simple, we're not going to need them. And a couple of mystery goo containers we might as well. We may as well. These are science experiments that we can deploy and gather science with. So we're going to call this one First Flight. Who's in the name, buddy? Oh, there we go. Right, okay, so there's our first little rocket. Pretty much the only thing we can build at the minute. And we're going to send up the man, the myth, the legend, the Jebediah. And we are going to save it, and we're going to launch it. So this is our humble beginnings to our career mode playthrough, and hopefully as we go through things will get grander and bigger and we can go further and things, but right now, well, we can't do a great deal, let's be honest. We've basically got a little patch of sand in the ground, and that's all we've got. So let's do our crew report. The crew report that we can do on the ground gives us a little bit of science, and we can save that science, and we can also open one of our mystery goo containers. That will give us some science on the ground as well. Only tiny little bits, but every little helps. And in theory, that should have completed that contract. It'll probably only show as completed when we actually land and recover the vessel, because obviously I can't transmit the science. But we have science collected from the ground. So, let's go ahead and launch. Well, that was a bit silly. I forgot to check my staging. I forgot to check my staging, and the parachute fired at the same time the rocket motor did. Well, that didn't quite go as well as I'd planned, but never mind. Let's observe the mystery goo while we're in the air, because we'll get a little bit of science for that. And let's just wait for us to get back down to the ground. That really didn't go as well as I'd hoped. I don't know if we've completed launch our first vessel as a contract. We've achieved the goal, so we've got the cash and we've got the reputation and everything from that. And we've got some milestones. Broken a world speed records of 25 meters per second, so that's given us some credits. Launched our first vessel, broken 80 meters per second, and gone above 500 meters. We would have gone further if I hadn't been such an idiot. Forgot to check stage. Always check your staging in Kerbal Space Program, or you end up looking like a fool. Okay, so signal strength, very good. Direct connection to the space center. So this is obviously to do with the transmission system, which I don't understand, to be perfectly honest with you. Let's just time accelerate just to get ourselves down a little bit faster. And when we get to the ground, just cut time acceleration before we actually impact so we don't break anything. Ta-da! Nice safe landing. I don't think I can do anything else. I have no more science to do. I can't go EVA because we need to upgrade various things before we can do that. So let's recover the vessel. And having recovered the vessel, it's time to head into research and development and have a look at the tech tree and see what we can unlock. And we've actually got enough science to unlock both of these two. So we can do Engineering 101, gives us a few extra parts. And we can do basic rocketry, which gives us a few other parts as well. We can research both of those, spending some science to give ourselves some more parts. And as you can see, the next level, we haven't got enough science to unlock anything. So we've given ourselves a few basic parts though. And now we've done that, it's time to go and have a look at some more contracts and see what we can do next. Now, we've obviously got a lot more contracts available to us now, a lot more. But at the moment, a lot of these we cannot do. A couple of basic ones we can do though. Well, next obvious one is to escape the atmosphere. So we can Simple one, just get out of the atmosphere, go into space. And also, we've got one to test the parachute. Now, parachutes, obviously, we're going to use it on the way back down anyway, so we might as well take that on. However, we have got to meet some criteria, as you can see listed here on the contract. We've got to meet some certain criteria. We've got to hit certain altitudes and speeds before we can actually successfully complete it, but I'm sure we can do that. And obviously, we can also escape the atmosphere, which is a very straightforward one. That's probably what we're going to do next. Build a rocket, get ourselves off the pad, and head to space. So now we've taken on board those two contracts, let's go and build ourselves a rocket that can do them both. So test parachute and get ourselves into space. Okay, so here's the rocket I've come up with. Little thing. Basically, it is a command pod. There's an engine under here, there's a decoupler there, a little fuel tank, a couple of science experiments. We actually now have a transmitter. We've got a thermometer there, and we've got 4 of these bigger solid rocket boosters. So the plan is basically go straight up, go into the atmosphere, come back down again. That's the plan. So let's see what happens. Let's get ourselves on the launch pad. Okay, so here we go. We'll turn stability control on. We got a little bit. No point throttling because, well, the solid rocket boosters aren't throttleable. I didn't check my staging again. I've just realised I forgot to check my staging. I think I can correct that down here. There we are. That's it. Always remember to check your staging. I'm really not doing it very well, but we have actually got it right now. So first stage, let's go. I'm really hoping this gets us high enough that we will break the atmosphere of Kerbin and not break the rocket. I'll be mildly embarrassed, you know, if this doesn't work. I don't think it's going to work, you know. It's been such a long time, I really can't remember. Right, let's get rid of all of that. And let's get this little engine firing. Obviously, it's not going to fire for very long. Well, that's the end of that, so I'm hoping we've got enough to coast up. Let's have a quick look in the map. What's our apparatus? 50. It's not enough. Oh, no, we've not managed it. Well, that's pants. Okay, well, that is a bit naff. We're not going to make it. Okay, so here we are. Take 2, slightly different rocket. We've gone for 2 of these in a nice little rocket shape. A few fins on there, keep it all straight. So I'm hoping that this goes a bit further. I just want to check the staging before I go off this time, make sure it's all correct, which it's not, so let's do that. Yeah, there we go, staging all's correct. Okay, let's try this again. Okay, here we are on the launch pad, and let's go. Lift off. And we are flying. This time I'm hoping we'll go a little bit higher. If we don't, I'm going to be mildly embarrassed, as we'll have to do this again. It's all tracking fairly straight, doing very well so far. I've forgotten to put Kerbal Engineer on this, so I can't see what the apparatus is from that. So I've got to go into the onto the map and have a quick look. I think it's burnt out, so we need to get rid of that very quickly and fire the next one. So it's going to accelerate us a very, very long way. 18, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. Okay, I think we're looking a tiny bit more positive. Let's see if we can just adjust things a little bit. I don't really have much control over where this is going. Let's get rid of that. Throttle to maximum and engine on. Whoa! Did not mean to do that. I did not mean to do that! Woohoo! Well, that probably would have made it if I hadn't pressed the wrong button. Oh, it has made it. There we go. 121,000 meters. Okay, so all we need to do now... That's not going to dampen out, is it? We're going to be tumbling the whole way up. Let's wait until we pass the 70,000 meter mark. In fact, I can do my log temperature. And we'll keep the science for the simple fact that we don't get as much if we transmit it. So it's better if we can keep it. I'm not going to... Or can we? Let's observe some mystery goo. Oh, we got some science from it. Because we're in the upper atmosphere. And we can do a crew report, of course. And we can transmit that. Because we don't lose anything. Spot on. That means we can do another crew report. Now we're in space. We're in space. So that's another crew report. And now that we are in space, we can observe some more mystery goo, which gives us some more science. It appears to have become brittle because we're in space. Okay, so we're still tumbling upwards at the moment. It's because I forgot to put SAS on. That's basically what happened. I just want to see if I can sort this out. I don't think I'm going to be able to sort this out. It's a bit of a mess. I've also completely forgotten to put a decoupler on to get rid of all of this. So we're going to have to go back in with all of that, which will be fun. Okay, so we need to have an altitude of 11,000 to 15,000 meters, speed 100 to 180 meters per second to test this parachute successfully. So hopefully we can do that. But what have we completed? We've escaped the atmosphere and got our rewards and our science. We've gathered some scientific data from Kerbin. I thought we'd already done that, but okay, never mind. And we have a few. We've recovered crew from our first mission, which was our last one. We've performed one of our experiments at home, which again was the one we did on the ground. Various height and altitude and speed records. And of course, we have reached space. So let's delete all of these notifications so we don't get ourselves confused. We're still tumbling upwards. Jebediah is loving it, as always. We're still tumbling upwards. Let's just time accelerate a little bit, so we're not sitting around here waiting for ages. We're coming back down now. I'm really hoping that that we manage to get through the atmosphere. Oh, I've run out of electricity. I've run out of electricity. That's not good. I have run out of electricity. Oops. I really hope I can still deploy the parachute. We're not spinning, but I can't steer it either. Oh, I think I can very, very slowly. I can very, very slowly spin it round. But I also can't control it when it does spin, and it's going to go back the other way. Okay, we're coming through the atmosphere now. I really want it to go in engine first, so it doesn't destroy it. There we are. Oh no, wait a minute. Oh no, we're okay. We're okay. We're fine. We're good. We're good. Okay, so let's hope we break through the atmosphere and slow down fairly quickly. I've just thought we're not going to be able to test this parachute on this flight because we're not going to slow down anywhere near fast enough. I can't deploy the parachute yet. I'm getting rather close to the ground. I'm getting rather close to the ground. Very close to the ground. This is going to be a bit hit and miss. This isn't good. Oh. Oops. I might have slightly killed Jebediah there. Well, there we go. Oh, well, that's a bit... whoops. Okay, so we are back in space. This time we have Valentina on board, and we're in space. I've done things slightly differently. I've gone up a bit of an angle this time, so we're going to splash down in the sea. And I'm also hoping we can come down at a slight angle so that we don't burn up. I've also managed to not use all of my fuel, so I can keep my electrical charge topped up by just burst firing the engine a little bit. I've suddenly realised what it was that's used all the electrical charge. It's because I was transmitting data. It's used all the electrical charge, so it's not the stability thing that's done it. It's the it's the transmitters. But never mind. This time we have a little bit of electrical charge left, so we can retain control. There we go. We've achieved another milestone. Well, obviously some of our milestones we've kept from previously. I've also managed to come a little bit less altitude this time. As we start to come back down, I'm just going to time accelerate just a little bit, just so we can speed ourselves up. And we're coming back down, and we're just going to swap directions so that we are flying like that. And we're coming down at a slight angle this time. So I am very much hoping that we can make our way in to the atmosphere and slow down so that we do not burn up. That's my hope. Although we're not really coming down at much of an angle, are we? Only a slight angle. I'm also not going to time accelerate. I don't want to risk it. I really don't want to blow another one up. Although I do have a bit of fuel in my engine, so if all else fails, I can fire that on the descent and slow myself down a bit. Things seem to have changed a little bit with the atmospheric conditions since I last played Kerbal Space Program. The air's thinner, it doesn't slow you down as much. And we hit the ground very, very fast. We're going to hit the water very, very fast this time, I think. We're virtually heading for the space centre, you know. I think we're going to land on the launching pad at this rate. Okay, so we're descending, picking up speed. I'm just going to do a little bit. No, that's actually... Oh no, it was slowing our descent slightly. I'm just going to let it do that. We're going to balance ourselves down to the surface. I'm just going to do a little tiny bit of engine burn to see if we can drum off some of this speed. Because we're really coming in rather fast. Again. Oh, it's happening again, you know. Okay, I've burnt off all the fuel. And we're still doing 700 meters per second. 500 meters per second. 400 meters per second. Oh dear, it's going to happen again. I need to shoot. I need to shoot. Oh no. I'm going to lose another one. Oh, this is not going well. This is not going well at all. Okay then, third time lucky. We are flying again. We have an apoapse going up, which is what we want. I'm going to throttle to max because I've got a slight angle on it this time, in the hope we don't come back quite so disastrously. Oh, I can't stage it when I'm in map view. Let's get rid of it then. Reignite that engine and then cut that engine very quickly. And I'm hoping that's given us enough to get airborne. Now, I'm unfortunately now don't have a pilot on board. I'm flying with Bob, and Bob is a scientist, not a pilot. So it's really, really difficult to control the rocket. But that's basically what I want to try and do. Is try and level out our descent slightly so we're not quite so going to plummet quite so badly. Okay, let's just go through and do all the science. We've already got that one from the previous flight. Let's observe the mystery goo quick before we go over the threshold. So far we haven't managed to get any mystery goo back. We're looking okay. I've still got half my fuel left. We're tumbling, but that's fine. I've tried to keep the apoapsis a bit lower this time. I didn't want to go quite so high into space because I'm obviously struggling to get the thing back. Okay, we're now in space, so let's do a crew report. Oh, we don't get any science because we've already done it. Okay, let's do the mystery goo. There we go. Keep experiment. Okay, so let's just time accelerate a little bit then. And I'm just going to do... right, what I need to try and do... We're descending now. I'll tell you what, it's a bit of a challenge to keep everything level when you don't have SAS. The stability, it's really, really difficult. But obviously we don't because we don't have a pilot. Okay. Well, that's as near as... Damn it. And what we're going to do, when we start entering the atmosphere, we are going to... I'm just going to keep trying crew reports just to see if I can get anything. I really want to start entering the atmosphere at this point. So I'm going to try and hold it level. Are we entering the atmosphere? Are we entering the atmosphere? We're still coming down pretty straight. We're still coming down pretty straight. Okay, what I think I'm going to do is a full burn of the engine. Try and slow ourselves down, and then I'm going to get rid of all of that. Because that's quite a lot of weight, so I'm hoping that things will slow down a bit more if I don't have quite so much weight. So I've got rid of all that. I put a coupler in there to get rid of that. So let's see how we do this time. We're still pretty low now, and we're still going pretty much straight down. So I think this is going to go hideously wrong again. Yeah, I think we're going to lose this game. Oh no, we're slowing down. We're slowing down. Surface speed is slowing down. The surface speed is dropping. The surface speed is dropping. It's dropping nicely. We are now in the safe range where we can fire the parachute. We're not going to get the contract for testing the parachute because we're at the wrong altitude. But we are at least this time going to get Bob back. Bob will return to us. Safe and sound. Let us just time accelerate. The chute is there, ready to deploy. And there it goes. And we are descending 400 meters. And we have, I think, safely recovered Bob from space. Oh, it's been a bit of a disastrous one, this. We've lost our 2-star astronauts or Kerbals, and it's all gone a bit wrong. But we have recovered Bob at the end of our first successful space mission of this series, Splashdown. So we can recover him and get ourselves some science. And we have science, and here is the science we've got. We have got 27 science earned from all of this mess. And we have recovered Bob, and we have recovered some bits and pieces. However, obviously, we have lost along the way a couple of our special astronauts, Valentina and Jeb. I have a feeling they will reappear at some point because they are special astronauts, but I could do with another pilot. So, Kemling Kerman, welcome on board. Dudney Kerman, welcome. Oh no, I can only recruit one. There we are. Oh, never mind. So we do have a pilot though, so just try not to lose any more. But anyway, I'm going to say thank you very much for watching, and we shall carry on in part number 2, where we explore some more contracts in Kerbal Space Program.